Hi, I'm Jerry from Kern Girl's Kitchen. I don't even know where to start today because I got lots of stuff. We're going to make sauerkraut with this pretty cabbage. It is kind of looking weird on its leaves, but it'll be fine. So I learned a very valuable lesson. We opened our sauerkraut on New Year's Day. It'd been in there for about 6 months, and I was so excited, and I realized it was moldy. I didn't get the cabbage leaf on top of it good enough, and stuff floated to the surface, and when anything floats to the surface, it can grow mold. So we're going to try a few different things today. We are going to use some pieces of the cabbage to basically top it off. We took the first few layers. I probably need to take a few more layers. This one's been in my refrigerator, and I think it's just cracking because it's starting to dry. Because I got it a few days ago. I would like this to come out of my garden, but we just bought this house a year and a half ago. We're not there yet. So next year we will be using our own cabbage. But this is pretty good. It's cute. We are going to also use fermentation weights. We have big pieces of glass. You're going to sit down and keep that cabbage under the liquid, and maybe I won't get mold. So I'm grasping. I'm trying to learn from my mistake, and that's basically what we're teaching you on this channel posts that you see on my Facebook, what you see on Instagram, is we are all not perfect and things happen. So fermentation weights. Never used them. I'm going to show you what I bought, but I will link it down below, but I haven't used them before. They're pretty. I'm sure they're going to work. Another thing we're going to use is these airlocks. These are the airlocks I used before. It was not an airlock problem. It was a problem that I had stuff above my liquid. So this is the airlock that is in that container. I will also link that. This airlock, if you can see the difference, this one actually came with this tamper. So I think we're going to try it. Basically, it does exactly the same thing. It's just a different brand. So on the note of tampers, this is a fancy one. I just bought it for myself for Christmas, and that's basically what it is. I will link this. I'm assuming it's going to work, but like I said, I have not used it before, so if you're interested, there are tons of them out there to choose from. To be honest, this is what we used last time. We started with just a regular wooden spoon, and then we're like, oh, we need a little bit more surface, so I'm pretty sure we use this, but you could definitely use this. I'll show you why you're going to use them. Anyway, so salt, we're using a kosher salt today. We got a really coarse grind this last time that we bought it. It's just regular kosher salt that you get at the grocery store. You just don't want anything with iodine or any chemicals in it because you're going into a ferment. The salt is one of the things that is going to prevent you from getting mold if it doesn't get to the top where the air is. So hopefully that's what we're going to be able to do today. So this cabbage should be easier to figure out how to cut, but it's kind of very, very round. So usually when they're a little straighter, you can figure it out. But we're going to go around the core, and hopefully this will be a little graceful. But it's a cabbage. Oh, it's definitely not dry in the middle, because this baby is tough. So basically, these are like cheeks. When you do a mango or any of those stone fruits. Just looks like a little brain in there. And usually, if a vegetable looks like something, that is what the vegetable feeds. So this is good for your body. Okay, so this core is huge. We are going to use the top part that comes off easily. That is a big core. Dang. If you have chickens, we're not allowed to have chickens. Makes me sad. So you can feed that to any of the animals on the farm, or put it into any kind of barrel that you have out there that you are making soil from. And for the love of everything, I can't figure out what word I'm wanting. But we used to have a compost bin, and we left it behind at our last house, and I just haven't started again. So as you can see, this by itself, it's already kind of shredded itself. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and then I will show you what we're going to do next. So I'm just breaking up our cabbage. It makes a lot. This is one head. I actually bought 3 heads. So it will fill a few of our jars. I didn't talk about jars, but I'll talk about them a little bit later and let you know which ones we're using, why I chose those. Mainly, you want something wide mouth because that is what our airlocks are. You can use any size jar you want. Right now, we're probably going to use the 1.5 pints, but like I said, I'll show you which ones we pack it into later. Alright, so with this nice and broken up, we're going to lacto ferment this, okay? We're going to add salt to it. We're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes. Now, I've done a lot of reading. I have watched a lot of videos because I'm trying not to mess this up again. But I also got inspiration from Homesteading Family, which I will link her below. Basically, I'm mainly doing it like she did it. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, and that's how I got the mold. But this was a smaller head of cabbage, so I'm going to use probably a tablespoon and a half. I may add a little bit depending. What we're going to do is we're going to add it to it, and we're going to let this sit for 10 minutes. Now in my reading, I came across that if you have a crock, which you can still buy on Amazon, I do not have a crock, that is the point where you would put it into your crock, and you'd let it sit for weeks until you packaged it in jars. We are going to actually salt it. We're going to let it sit for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to show you how we pound it with this. We want to get a lot of that liquid out of it so that we're not adding liquid and then it's expelling liquid and our salt content gets off. Because remember, our salt is what is going to keep that mold away. So we're just going to sprinkle this through. And I'm going to mix this up pretty well. Probably just keep doing it for a minute or two just to make sure I get everything salted. And then I'm going to let it sit for 10 minutes. And then I will show you what we have, because it will already start giving a lot of its liquid away. If I can. It's been a little more than 10 minutes. And sometimes you can see liquid. I have a tiny bit. But you can definitely feel the difference, and you can see that it's a little bit smaller than it was. So now 10 minutes of pounding. You can use the other tools that I showed you, or we're going to use our fancy new one. And you are breaking this up. So remember, what you're doing is you are breaking the cells up, and when you do this, it is going to get all that water out. You're going to use it later, but this is getting it out beforehand so you don't add any kind of liquid to it, and then we set off our salt concentration. So we're going to do this for 10 minutes, and it will go down to about 1/3 of what we started with. If this perhaps does not give you quite a bit of liquid and it doesn't break down, then you're going to let it sit for another 30 minutes, and then you're going to pound it again for another 5 to 10 minutes until you get what you want. As you see, when I'm pounding it, it's making it flat. We don't want it necessarily flat, so I keep pulling it across because we actually want to be pounding each individual piece. So if I just move it and then start pounding it again, we'll eventually get all of it. So, all right, we're going to do this for 10 minutes, and we'll show you what we have. Okay, about 10 minutes. And plus I recruited my child to do some. So I was initially a little worried because we didn't get a lot of liquid initially. It took it a while. You could tell the texture had changed, but it was definitely not liquidy. So let me show you this. We definitely have liquid now. So we are going to pack it in these jars. So this should be enough for 2 jars. It may only fit in 1. You want it packed tight. That's why there's 2 different ends. You can use those to help pack it in the jar. When we do this, we're going to pick it up. Nice clean hands, nice clean jars. These jars are not chemically treated in any way. There's no bleach, there's no vinegar, there's no chemicals in here. I cleaned them with soap and water. These ones actually went through the dishwasher because you don't want anything that's going to kill your bacteria that's going to ferment this. Lactobacillus is a good bacteria, and you want that bacteria. We need that bacteria to make our coleslaw. The kid took a little taste of it, and she's like, "This tastes like coleslaw." Yeah, it does. And then I asked her what we were going to do with the core, and she's like, "I don't know, what do we do with the core?" And I'm like, "Well, we don't have any chickens, so how about we make some soup?" We haven't had cabbage soup, I think, since she was a baby, so she's like, "I don't remember that." So we're going to freeze that core. I'm going to vacuum seal it, of course, if you know me at all, and throw it in the freezer, and then we will have another meal to either show you or just to prepare. So anyway, these are nice clean jars. So what we're going to do, I'm going to try to fit this all in one because I really, really want it packed good. I don't want the same thing that happened to me last time to happen again. And dude, I'm not even kidding. This cabbage gets everywhere. So anyway, we're going to drop some in. There is not a good way to do this without your hands. There just is not. So we are going to pack it in. And, wow, that's interesting. That light works randomly. I didn't even realize the switch was on. So anyway, you see how we have all that liquid coming up? We want it packed tight. We're going to fill this jar up all the way. See if I can minimize the mess. And if you know me at all, you know that, like, I'm the queen of messes. Things just, I'm good at making messes. But, and all I'm doing is kind of going in a circle because I want to make sure that is as packed, as tight as I can get it. I'm just so worried about getting mold again because I will be very, very sad. Like, so sad. Plus, I would like to only have to use 1 jar because jars take up a lot of room. So when this sits, we're going to sit it at room temperature. It can sit for 2 to 3 days. If you have a warmer kitchen, you'll do the 2 days. But you'll see it. Woo, baby. You'll see the bubbles coming up the sides. And when you get a lot of bubbles coming up, that's when you need to put it in cold storage, which for us is going to mean in the refrigerator. Okay, we are getting to the point where I think this is where I made my mistake last time. So, we're going to try to prevent that from happening. So I need to get, yeah. I'm telling you, literally my life is like a series of accidents. Sometimes they're actually not a bad thing. So, I actually probably have way too much in here because we're going to end up taking some out. Because I don't want mold. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I was in tears and my daughter understood because when you put so much work and love into what you've done, it is so, so, so sad when 6 months later, it's a mess. Okay, so I couldn't find a perfect leaf, so we're going to start with part of it, and then we may add some more to it. So I'm going to do both techniques because I want to make sure that this is not going to mold. So we're going to put this leaf in, and when I say you are scrunching it, you are scrunching it in there. You don't want this baby to float. If it floats, it's going to cause the same problem I had before. So, make sure all of the cabbage is caught. See, there's a little piece. Oh, that's on the outside. But, My fingernails are putting holes in it. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of, let me rinse real quick so I don't make a huge mess. So I do not want any of these floaties in my jar. So I'm gonna try to prevent that. Oops. We're gonna fill this until it gets to that, I always call it the freeze line. You want to leave about 1 inch, and that's where it's at. This is where we're going to put in, oh, I have a feeling this is, oh. See? Literally the story of my life. But it's okay. So now, okay. We're going to be real here, people. Not even kidding. Okay, so look here what just happened. So we have floating. That little piece will make this solution mold. I know I saw another one. So I'm going to play with this. See if I can get it to come back up. There it is. You do not want these floating. I'm pretty sure that's how I started my mold issue. See how long I can chase a piece of cabbage on camera. Okay, so we still have a little bit much on the fluid. See if I can minimize. I think at this point it is what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna take that. We are at the bottom of that line. I'm gonna put one of these on here. We're gonna put a ring. This is gonna sit. We're not gonna mess with it. We don't have to shake it. We don't have to do anything fancy to it. It's gonna sit for 2 to 3 days. Our house is on the cooler side, so it'll sit for about 3 days and then it will go in the refrigerator, but I'm definitely going to double check and make sure none of this has floated up. Oh, I'm so excited. Like, I don't see anything else floating, I don't think. Okay, I think we're gonna be successful this time. I'm not kidding. There were tears, they were running down my face, and my kid's trying to console me, and I'm excited. So, hopefully we'll show you in 6 months what it looks like. Oh, by the way, you can start eating this after 2 or 3 days. You can do it at any time you want, just to taste it or to see if that's where you want it. But experts are going to tell you 6 months. I just want to do one for 6 months and see what it tastes like. So, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know.